Hello everyone, this is Bhavisha Sharma from Law School 101 and this video on Assertions and Reasons Part 1 of Critical Reasoning is brought to you by Law School 101 for CLAT aspirants. Critical reasoning is a part of the reasoning section of CLAT which makes up 40 marks out of 200. There can be any amount of questions from critical reasoning ranging from 5 to 25 and CLAT being an unpredictable paper, no particular number of how many critical reasoning questions would be there can be predicted. The first type of critical reasoning questions are the assertion reasoning questions. These are basically two statements. The examinee is supposed to comprehend the two statements and then within the given options choose which one stands true. Such questions take up the twin task of judging the examinee's knowledge base as well as reasoning skills. These questions can be easily prepared for as they do not require any other special preparation but only thorough preparation and reading of the GK material or current affairs section as well as the legal aptitude section and the little simple reasoning on how to solve these questions. There exists a difference between the assertion reasoning questions and the other types of critical reasoning questions. The peculiarity of critical reasoning questions in general, except the AR questions, is that we have to stick to the information we are given and do not assume anything else that exists in the real world. However, A and R questions cannot be solved without an extra amount of information. They can be in varied sections from reasoning to general knowledge and even legal aptitude. And in all sections wherever they are present in, we need to use a lot of extra knowledge. So in such questions, there is less of reasoning part but more of knowledge base. There is a typical format that these questions follow that one must keep in mind to answer these questions quickly in the exam. The direction goes from the question consists of two statements labeled as assertion and other as reason. You are to examine the two statements carefully and select this best option. Assertion and reason as statements are given. And then there are four options. Both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Both A and R are true but R is not the correct explanation of A. A is true but R is false. A is false but R is true. There can also be another option which many other competitive exams ask, that is both A and R are false. Now, the most important part of how to attempt these questions. First of all, carefully read the statements one by one. Special emphasis must be laid on certain parts of the statements such as negative, qualifiers, etc. as they create a huge difference. Second, in such questions, one must never make flukes. Do not try to answer these questions on the basis of reasonability or common sense. These questions can be traps set by examiners to bring down your score by increasing negatives. So answer these questions only when you are 100% sure of them being correct. Third, make the judgment of truthfulness or falsity of the two statements before moving on to the relationship part. So first of all, the examiner needs to decide whether the assertion and the reason in themselves independently are true or not. If the examiner knows that one or both the statements are true, itself the examiner can choose one of the options as the question is designed in such manner. Problem or this complication arises only when the examinee knows that these two statements are true. Establishing the truthness or the falsity of these statements is also very important. As sometimes what examinees tend to do is that assuming that if reason was true, would it explain the assertion, and then think about the commonsensical notion of can reason be true, and then combining both the effects, answer as A or B, as given in the question format. This might not be the case, as even the most plausible looking reasoning can also be false. So do not move ahead without judging the truthfulness or the falsity of the statements. Fourth, try reading the two statements distinctly so that you can correctly make out if any actual relationship exists between the two or not. Two things need to be kept in mind regarding this. Firstly, just because two statements are talking about the same subject matter does not imply that they are actually related to each other in the way of an explanation part. Secondly, many times when we read the two statements together, we tend to think that they explain each other. In actual sense, in reality, they actually might not. So to avoid that, read the two statements distinctly so that you can make out if the relationship of explanation actually exists or not. Fifth, we have discussed. Sixth is more of a preparatory material that to, as I've already stressed upon this a lot, that to answer these questions, more than reasoning, you need a lot of knowledge of current affairs, of legal knowledge, of general knowledge, of English even, to solve these questions. So more than reasoning part, focus on reading more about these. Read articles on live law. Read magazines which have lots of reasoning material such as Competition Success Review or Competition in Focus. And Competition in Focus also has a lot of questions of this type based on current affairs at the back part. You can also try and solve them to improve your comprehensibility. Now we'll discuss two past year questions. First, here the assertion given is we feel colder in mountains than on plains. Reason given is temperature decreases with altitude. The options are as given in the question format. Now, as a commonsensical notion, most of us would know the assertion to be true. Reason might not be known to everyone. However, the reason is actually true and it also explains the phenomena that is being discussed in assertion. Thus, the answer here would be A. Second, and this is also the second question that I'm going to discuss, is an example of how I said that just because a particular reason looks absurd or vague, that does not mean it does not explain the assertion. Assertion here is that the steam engine was invented by James Watt. Reason was there was a problem of taking out water from flooded mines. Now, even though the majority of the examinees would know that assertion is true, they might find reason to be very vague or absurd or unconnected. However, the reason is actually true and is also the exact correct explanation for assertion. Thus, here also the answer would be option A. Here, I would like to discuss about the new trend in the CLAT papers where they have started asking such questions in the GK section in the form of questions of current affairs. So, one way to prepare them is to solve current affair assertion reasoning questions. Many of such kind you can find in Competition in Focus. Lay a lot of emphasis in them. Read a lot of articles from sites like livelaw.in or scroll.in. Even when you're going through the newspaper or making notes from GK Today or Jagran Josh, do not focus only on headlines but read in depth to answer such questions because these questions revolve around reasoning which is not exactly described in the facts. So start looking beyond facts to answer these questions correctly. An example of current affairs question is Assertion. WHO recently declared end of Ebola virus outbreak in Congo. Reason is WHO initiated the Stop the Virus drive in Congo in 2016. Now, those of us who are in touch with current affairs recently know that assertion is true. However, only few people would know about the falsity or truthfulness of the reason, as this is not particularly in the current affairs. So, only those who have deeper insights on this entire topic and drive would know about the falsity or the truthfulness of the statement, and the statement is actually false. Thus, the answer would be C. That is, A is true, but R is false. For more such resources, You can follow, like and share our page of Law School 101 on Facebook. Subscribe to our main YouTube channel by the same name, and you can also push the notification bell so that you are notified each time we upload a new video. Post your doubts, questions or queries in the comment section below. These will be replied to within reasonable time. All the very best to all of you. Thank you.